I'm Kim.
And I'm Camille, and this is Enneagram for the Culture, where two dope Black therapists discuss how therapy, Blackness, and the Enneagram come together.
So in this conversation, we're talking to my mentor. Her name's Bronwyn, and Bronwyn is an 8.
Yeah, and so if you want to learn a little bit more about 8s and really get to know that type structure, you can go back to episode 3 on both seasons 1 and 2 is where we talk more about how they're set up. But for a little brief reminder, 8s are sometimes called the challenger, the protector, the leader. They are the type that is powerful and strong and dominating. They're very self-assured and self-confident. They're decisive. They have a strong will, and they're usually not afraid of confrontation. They're not going to run from that, and that they in some ways welcome it. Their basic fear is of being harmed or controlled by others or being violated. Their desire is to protect themselves or others and to determine their own course for their own life. And the message that they sort of live with is that you are good or okay if you are strong and in control of your situations and surroundings. And so also part of what comes up in this conversation as we talk to Bronwyn is that in the Enneagram, there are, like we've always said, there's lots of ways that you can break up the Enneagram into different triads. And a common one, and we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, is looking at the breakup of 8, 9, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7. And in those breakups, there are centers of intelligence. And when we think about, even as we think about ourselves as humans, we have our mind, our body, and our heart. And we can sometimes over rely on one. And we really, in a perfect world, want those to be blended really nicely. And that there is benefit and intelligence from each of those centers of intelligence. But we all have some that we lean on more. And so for 8, 9s, and 1s, they are in the body triad or the gut triad. And what that means is they take in information, or they have a very strong sense of information that comes from their body. So their guts, literally, they're kind of like that spidey sense. You will hear them describe bodily sensations. They can connect to the tightness or to the pit in their stomach or to the fatigue. They can connect to that really easily.
They also, really quick, sometimes they'll use language as far as like doing things. They're action oriented. So that's another way that can show up.
Perfect. 2, 3s, and 4s are going to rely on their heart center, or they're going to have a strong sense of their emotions and their feelings. And so you're going to, like Kim just said, you're going to hear them talk about their feelings kind of first. They're going to, feel their way through something. They're going to have a connection with their emotions in a situation. They might make a decision around that from a place of their feelings and their heart space. And then your 5, 6, and 7s, we live in our heads. We use our heads. We use our data, and we use thinking and thoughts, cognitions. And that's where we have a close connection. We might think about something first. We might want something to make sense in a thoughtful way. And we can want to think through a problem versus feel through a problem or sense through a problem.
Yeah.
All of those triads, like we talked about a couple of episodes ago, also, again, is connected to our emotions. So you heard us talk about anger, shame, and anxiety. And so you can see how those connect with the body, heart, and mind.
Yes. Perfect. And so you have heard us refer to the Enneagram as a dynamic tool, as a tool that there are many layers to. And so one of the layers can be an awareness of weaknesses and just how they impact how we show up. And just the different ways this tool can help us with being aware of what our weaknesses are. And so 2 of those ways that we can kind of learn from the Enneagram as far as an awareness of our weaknesses. One is back to the emotional struggle that Camille just mentioned with each triad. So gut triad and anger, heart triad and shame or sadness, and then the head triad and fear or anxiety. Another way this tool can help us with being aware of like how our weaknesses show up. In the last episode, we mentioned the core motivators for each type, and that each type also has a core weakness. Now listen, we're going to just really quickly run through what the core weakness is for each type. Do not stop listening.
And this is your trigger warning.
Don't stop rocking with this because we're talking about these weaknesses. It will be uncomfortable. Even as we were preparing to have this conversation, Camille's like, I don't think we should do that because it's uncomfortable. But you're not here to stay comfortable. And it's why it is important for us, again, to be aware of what our weaknesses are and how they can show up so that we can learn from them and grow through them. So for each one, very quickly, for 9s, the core weakness is sloth. For type 1s, the core weakness is resentment. For 2s, it's pride. For 3s, it's deceit. For 4s, envy. For 5s, it's avarice. For 6s, it's anxiety. For 7s, gluttony. And for 8s, lust. To learn more about these, because I know you really want to, go back and listen to seasons 1 and 2, where we kind of do deeper dives on each type and understand kind of how these weaknesses show up and what they mean. And again, to get some guidance as far as like how you can use them to help you to grow. And that's it. Let's listen in to our conversation with BG. Camille.
Hello, here we are.
Hi, everybody.
Another great interview, I'm sure, coming up right here. I'm excited for our guest.
Yes, me too. Super excited. Bronwyn Lucas is with us today, and she serves as the Deputy Director of Programs and Services for the Center for Black Health and Equity. It's a national nonprofit organization. In this role, she has the primary responsibility of assisting the executive director with the development and execution of the strategic direction and programmatic policies for the organization and provides oversight to all the center's programs. She received her MPH in maternal and child health from Gilling School of Global Public Health at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And with over 2 decades of commitment to public health equity, she has worked at the local, state, national, and international level on issues such as women's health, economic justice, youth empowerment, policy, and systems change, and also leadership development and food justice. She has held various nonprofit leadership roles, including the founder and executive director, board chair, and consultant. Bronwyn grew up in the Northeast, but she's lived and worked in North Carolina for over 25 years and calls North Carolina home. In her free time, she enjoys travel, the beach, and spending time with her family and friends. Welcome, BG.
Oh my gosh, is that me? Is that really me? That's a mouthful. That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
A mouthful of amazing, like, so many cool things. There were so many things that was just in the bio that I'm like, wait, what? Okay, I want to talk. Okay, oh my gosh, I have so much to talk about.
Well, thank you. I am so happy to be here with you too, and excited for the conversation.
Us too. So her name is Bronwyn. You'll hear me calling her BG. That's because we go back. Bronwyn is my mentor. She's known me since I was 14, 15 years old. And so back then she had a different last name. And so that's why I call her.
Yes, that was you've known me pre-marriage, yes, which is crazy.
I know. I'm so excited you're here.
Oh, me too. It's been such a pleasure to watch Miss Kimberly Reese grow up and blossom. So this is a full circle moment.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And so many wonderful things that you've been invested in over decades, right? So that's neat. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I love it. It doesn't even feel like work.
That's the goal.
Yep. That's how you know when you found your calling and your passion. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we joked about this just before we started recording, but if it weren't for Bronwyn and the work that she helped me to start to do from a really young age, I don't think I would be able to say the same thing, that the work I'm doing, that I know it's purposeful and I'm very passionate about it. I don't think I would have went into social work. I don't think I would have gone into that, gone in that direction. So thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know growing up when I was a teenager, I didn't know that you could make a living doing like service and community work. And I certainly didn't know what public health was. I didn't know what a nonprofit was. And so I think it's really important to expose young people to that, to that thought that, there's lots of ways to make a living, but you can, if you are a community minded person who's down for change, there's ways to, do that for a living, make a living out of it. So
yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, we can jump in. So, our first, how we start off is by asking how the Enneagram showed up for you this week. And so, Bronwyn, it'll be you and I sharing today. And so what, did you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
You go first. You go first. You go first.
Please, you go first. Okay. So I was thinking about this and, I recently did some like redecorating, reviving some stuff in my home, and the why and how of that is very 7-like, but that's not the part I want to focus on. But what I did do, one of the elements was I redid a frame wall, and I did it with, pictures of travel. That I've taken. I take a lot of pictures when I travel. I'm not a big like tchotchke person, when I travel, but I'll do pictures. But I realized that I didn't have my pictures from travels up. And so then they're just sitting on your phone. And so put them up. It was very hard to do the frame wall because frame walls are hard. But once I got it all up, I like sent a picture to my sister because a lot of the travels have been with her. And I was like, look at all these beautiful pictures. And then I started crying because I was just so like moved in a way of like thankfulness. And like just, and I like texted my sister. I was like, and now I'm crying. And she was like, of course. Because I was just like, this is a gift. And this is a privilege to be able to see these places and have these memories. And, I know that the classic thing is that 7s love travel and everybody loves travel, but like, it's like, it changes my heart each time. And it's just what gives me so much, like almost in some ways, a little bit of meaning is like when I get to travel. And so it was cool that I got to, and then even like, I love prints. And so I'll maybe find a print shop when we're traveling and find a little print. Like, so putting all that stuff up, was a big task this summer. And it feels so nice to have like my memories kind of all around. And so anyways, that's how the Enneagram showed up for me recently, is just, being really like deeply moved by reflecting on the travels that I've gotten to do.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
I love that. So can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Is your travel wall behind you so that I'm assuming you spend a lot of time on Zoom?
This is not my travel wall, but there is a little bit. There's one thing that's travel. That's Lisbon.
Okay. Ooh.
Everything else on this wall is not travel. This is just a regular wall.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
But over right there's a little travel thing that I added. Like, so yeah, there's a thing right here. That's a little travel thing I added. That's it in this room.
I love it. Who doesn't love travel, right?
Right. Who doesn't love, well, some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to go places or don't want to leave America or,
that's true. That's true.
Not
that's a 7, huh? That's a 7 travel. Okay.
And I think I was going to say, I appreciate you sharing that, Camille, because like you said, a lot of that's kind of like a superficial thing. I think that comes along with the narrative for 7s is that they're just like really, busy and they like to go and they like to travel. But for you to share that, like for you, what it means, I also think it's important for, for that narrative to also be included as a 7, is that like, it's not just about going. It's not just about being busy like that. Like you said, experiences like that really change your heart. And so, I appreciate that.
And I think that it's one of those things that like, we've talked about this before, Kim, that like you can take one thing and you can go around the whole circle and talk about why someone likes that thing. Like my sister's not a 7 and she values our travel, our sister trips just as much as me. But it might have a different meaning to her or a different feeling to her or different urge to her than it does for me. And so, yeah, everybody has their different motivations for why they like a thing. So yeah.
What you got, BG?
Very nice. Well, I'm an 8, and I've been exploring my 8-ness, and it's really helped me to understand a lot about myself, and just giving me a heightened awareness of some of the negative things about an 8 that I need to pay attention to. And so that's sort of, when I think about how it showed up for me this past week, I reflect a lot on my natural tendency to show up and to be very assertive and possibly dominate. And so I just have I just kind of went into this week with a heightened awareness of that, particularly in the workplace and what that means, and to give space for other people, and just to be keenly aware of that. I think, on the flip side, it's because of some of those qualities of being really, confident and assertive, it's made me, excel and stand out as a leader in my professional life. But at the same time, I'm, aware of the space that I take up, more aware of the space that I take up, and really try to kind of step back and make room for others, and to not, try not to dominate or to be too one-sided. So I'm constantly practicing that, and I'm aware of my natural tendency to want to do that. And so I don't know, maybe at times I even overcompensate, because I want to, check in with everyone, try to give everyone else, try to empower other people to be leaders, and to like bring out that boldness and that strength in them and that confidence. So I think that's how it shows up for me a lot, in my daily life.
I'm sure that's such a daily practice, like a daily dance in some settings. Probably, I'm guessing maybe in some settings you can just, freely do whatever. But then there's probably some settings that's like, I have to balance it. And so that sounds a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I really couldn't think of a light example. Everything I was reading about 8 was real heavy. I wish I had a lighter example, like travel or something, but it was real heavy. Yeah.
I'm over here. I'm really having a hard time not smiling. I'm listening to you, and also at the same time, like, going back and like, you're my first boss, if you will. And briefly what we did, like, we were a team of high school students, and the nonprofit it was all about youth empowerment and helping youth to feel empowered to connect with their peers so that they could be, leaders in their community surrounding issues that impacted us. And we were specifically focused on tobacco prevention. And so we would travel across the state and do these trainings. But we would have to, come in for work and prepare the trainings and practice. And it was just listening to you talk about your awareness as far as your leadership skills and traits. And then, just remembering being a teenager and having you lead us and also shape us as leaders. It's very hard to not smile.
Yeah. You know me. I can't get away with any lies on this conversation.
I'm not going to tell you like that, though. So you mentioned that you've been doing a lot of exploring as far as your type structure, you being an 8. Take us a few steps back and share, like, how'd you learn about the Enneagram? How'd you stumble on it?
Yeah, I think I first heard about it, probably 10 or 15 years ago. And I think I did a test, and that was it. I didn't go any deeper. And then, it's actually at my job. I had a team that I was supervising, and this is so interesting. It just flows with what I just said. I got tired of leading all of the team meetings every other week. And so what I decided was I'd lead every other one, but that we would rotate staff, and each staff person would be in charge of leading a team meeting, and they could do whatever they wanted to do. It didn't have to be like work. It was more like team building. And one of my staff did the Enneagram. And so we all had to do the test before coming to the staff meeting. And I knew I was an 8 then. And we talked about it in relation to how we work together as a team and how we, interact and our strengths and our weaknesses. And I was like really blown away because I felt like, wow, this really like captured me. Like it really resonated with me. There was someone else on my team that was 8 too, as well. So that was how I think I first heard about it. And then of course, reconnected with Kim, and she was telling me about this project she was working on, this podcast. And so, of course I listened to this podcast and that helps to inform me. And then just last week I had this amazing experience at this place called Camp Empowerment. It's a camp for women, spiritual camp for women. And you're exposed to all kinds of things, different workshops, but then also physical things. So you could do yoga. There was hypnosis, but I did an Enneagram class when I was there. And it was really interesting as well. It wasn't I wanted it to be more individualized, like I wanted it to be about me, about 8, but it was kind of general.
About everybody else.
It was about everyone else. I was like, I need a little bit more about me, but I did learn, let me see if I can get this right. 2, 3, 4 are the heart.
Yes.
5, 6, 7. I forgot what 5, 6. The head. Yeah. And then 8, 7. No, 8, 9, 1 are the body.
Yes.
So I'm body. Yeah. That was the first I had learned about that. So I was like, oh, that's interesting because I felt like 9 and 1 were pieces. I felt pieces of me in 9 and 1 as well. But just that sense of like we've got to know that we feel things we've got to know that it's firm and strong and real, and we see through like the BS and just needing like a real person, just the realness, And I think that's what attracted my husband. Kim knows my husband. He's just who he is. He's just real. He just is him.
I'm not even gonna lie. I'm so hoping that at some point I get to hear him in the background. He's absolutely incredibly real and authentic and amazing person. Both of them.
Does that ring true to you when they talked about like the body and your gut, and like, does that feel, yes, big nod.
Absolutely. And the other two, I'm not a heart person at all. I'm not people could sometimes think I'm like emotionally distant. I can't put my emotions to the side. I'm not, I think I'm more fueled by my head than my heart in terms of like, things have to be, I have to know the reason why in order to do something. It has to be I'm very rational, So it's, the body definitely resonated as the body. So yeah. Kim, what are you? What's your number?
3.
3.
Mm-hmm. Heart type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
No. Yep. Self-preservation 3. So some of what you might have heard about, like in the class that you took, it might not, if she didn't talk about the counter types for each type, then there's probably some things that don't necessarily resonate with me for that type. So each type has a type that looks kind of different from general 8s or general 7s or general 3s. So bringing up the body, though, I was going to ask you, like, for you, when you are aware of your, you said dominance, but your 8s tend to have this just big kind of powerful energy. So when you're like trying to be aware of that and not centering yourself or not taking up too much space, like what's that feel like for you and your body to kind of try to not take over or speak up or lead?
It's hard. It is hard. It's like this demon's wanting to come out and I've got to like keep it in. It really is hard. It's a lot of like self-talk of like, step back, let someone else, lead the way or do this, be quiet, so it's a lot of in my head of like talking myself through just, my mom tells a story like in when I was in second grade, I would have my hand raised before the teacher even asked the question, like I just had to be first, I just knew everything. I had to be first and I had to have the answer right, and she hadn't even asked the question yet. So it's like but I think I've also, I'm a very like self-aware person. So I've, as I've gotten older and aged, I've, tempered a lot of that. So yeah.
I think that, I know that, and this tends to be the case with eights too. Like you definitely you have feelings. You can get, soft, vulnerable, mushy, like it's in there. And I think I've said it on the podcast before. One of my, closest friends is an eight. Like it's one of my favorite, like motions on the Enneagram is to see eights feel comfortable, like leaning into their softness, the mushiness that tends to be on the inside that sometimes is hard for eights to be, confident in and in touch with.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was reading something about it's hard for us to yield power, and that could be like for someone to have physical, financial, like any kind of control over us. And then then it says something about so often it's hard for us to even get close with people because we don't, that's vulnerability, right? To humble yourself and have like to that softness, the vulnerability. And so, I think that is one thing as my marriage has like progressed over the years that I've really, really had to do. Because, when you think about, what is love, that's all that is just being vulnerable. And so yeah, I think it is a daily practice for sure. Daily practice.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that and all the thoughts that come with being an eight. You really fleshed that out really beautifully. Just how much of a daily practice it is to like balance. And it sounds like even like when you were a kid, like, and you said like with age, I've had to learn how to balance that. Yeah. Well, let's ask this next question because I have another question, but I want to see if it gets answered here. But because how do you notice and experience the Enneagram intersecting with your Blackness?
Yeah, that's a good one. It's interesting because I think I am confident. I have a confidence that people notice, like when I'm in their presence. I also can be, I've been told, assertive or like confrontational. And I think that just comes from, I just talk straight. Like I just, if I see something, I say something. But I've been told I'm assertive in the workplace. And I think that's also complicated by being like a Black woman, like the typical stereotype. And so again, it's like having to have that awareness in different spaces of how confident and assertive I can be, in different spaces, depending on like what company I'm in. And then I think it also is complicated by, I'm biracial. So I could be racially ambiguous as well. And so I think I'm also allowed to be confident and assertive in places that other Black women maybe, aren't. So it's interesting to like think every scenario through. But that kind of natural sense of wanting to lead has made me like really like fight hard to like, get to the top no matter what type of professional environment I'm in. And I think, some of that is, I think, socially as well. So it's, the organization that I'm at now is 100%, it's all Black and brown people on staff. And it's quite a stark difference from the organization I came from. And I just feel really, really, really comfortable. Like it removes a lot of that, like thinking about how I have to present myself or what's going to be acceptable or how I'm going to be perceived. So yeah, I think it's interesting. How about for you guys?
Well, first I wanted to respond to what you said and I was just thinking about when we started the podcast, eights, and female eights are one of the like big things that stuck out to me about how
Mhm.
the Enneagram intersects with Blackness, and the concept and the experience of a Black female eight is maybe different than a white female eight. And so when we were learning about the Enneagram, the way that people were talking about it, I was noticing, I was like, wait, but this isn't probably true for Black women who are eights. And that was one of the like first thoughts I had about was for eights. So to hear you articulate exactly why that, like, there's certain places I can't do that, or there's certain places I've had to, or certain places I now feel very comfortable. And then even bringing up like, being biracial and how you are aware that like, if I had darker skin, it might be different. And that I might not be able to, do certain things, so I just thank you for fleshing that out and just really articulating that beautifully, because I think that's really real. Obviously it's real because you're saying it. So yeah.
I will answer your question as to what about us, but I'd like to still make it about you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
Yep. Cause I know you
know
really
it. I have no problem doing that.
Okay.
No problem.
So obviously push back and let me know if it doesn't track. But another way I see it intersecting, or I've experienced that intersection. Have you ever done work that was not rooted in justice?
No.
Right.
Never.
And I think that being that's a motivator for eights, and most of those types in the gut triad, all very, very much justice oriented. And I also think that's not really uncommon for Black women. We tend to have a hard nose, sense of what's right and what's wrong, and when stuff isn't right, then we have a problem with that, and we want to speak up, or we want to try to take care, we want to go into action. And so that's something else that really stands out to me as far as that intersection.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I hadn't even thought about that, I guess, because it's so central to like, I've never done anything else. Like I've never, ever, ever, ever. There was that one time in high school I worked at the Gap, but
even
I was about to say, I'm sure that if you really thought about it, you could probably figure out how at some point you made something that was wrong at the Gap right.
You told the boss, the supervisor.
We did start recycling. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But Oprah Winfrey came in. No, sorry, it wasn't Oprah Winfrey. It was Gail. Her best friend came in to buy something for Oprah when I was working there. Gail was my, growing up in New Haven, she was our local news person on the 5:00 news every night. That's who I would see. Gail
and she came in to buy a gift for Oprah. Do you remember what she bought?
I don't remember, but I helped her, but I can't remember what she bought.
That's
something.
Cool.
It was like around Christmas time. It was something I could not even tell you, but she was just like a regular old person who was like on the local, it's like bumping into a local news person here. It wasn't that big of a deal, but she was buying for Oprah. That was a big deal.
That's a pretty fun fact.
That's a really fun fact.
Yeah.
You can tuck that away for an icebreaker.
That's right.
All right. So, Camille, did you get your other question answered? You said you had something else.
Yeah, my other question was answered because it was, how did you learn to do that balance? Why did you feel like you had to do that balance? And then you shared So yes, my answer was answered.
Cool.
My question was answered. Yes. I think I have another question that's floating from before when you talked about how the Enneagram showed up, and you were like, I don't really have a light thing. I feel like, eights you read about, it's very heavy. It's very bold. Mm-hmm. I've always done justice work. I've got my hand up first. I'm right. Like I'm leading. You said like language that you use is like, I'm always trying to get to the top. And so I guess how does that feel to you? Does that feel very natural and easy, or is that a burden? And is there places that you can be light? And because I kind of wonder if that's a little bit of a miss that we sometimes talk about eights as only being serious, when maybe there's another layer to it too.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think I could absolutely be, I have a sense of humor. I can be silly. I'm not always serious, but I do remember there was a good chunk of my life where I felt I got tired of being the one in charge of everything. And I remember I would say, like, I am the CEO at work. I'm the CEO at home. I'm the CEO of my family. And I just want someone else to make the decision. Like, I got tired of being the one to always make the decision. I also think I have like this personality where I'm kind of like all or none. And so when I get like that, I could just completely like, I don't care. You make the decision about everything. Like, and it could be like major things, and it could be like prolonged over a period of time. And so, it's interesting when I get to that point of like, I'm done. And then I like swing the other way, and then I eventually come back center. But, and I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this, the horoscope mixed with the Enneagram, but I am a Virgo, sun, moon, rising. I'm like a quadruple Virgo as well, which if you know anything about Virgo, like we are like all, Virgo and A is pretty interesting space to be in. So yeah, I need therapy, lots of therapy.
Don't we all though, right? Like,
yeah.
That's amazing.
We do. No, it's true though. I think, through therapy, it's helped me see these things and name these things and just have the awareness of these things. And it's like, that's like the Enneagram. It's things that I've always known and felt, but it just, when you read about your personality traits and your type and the things that, the things that drive you and challenges and like things you need to work on, it's just spot on. It's just spot on.
Can you tell us about a hope that you have for Black people around growth work, healing work, work that they might do using a tool like the Enneagram or a space like therapy? And can you share with us like a hope on an individual level for Black people and then a hope for the collective?
Oh gosh. A hope for individual level, I think, any tool that allows you to like discover more about yourself, which the Enneagram does, which therapy does, any tool that forces you to look inward and to spend time like with yourself and really, understand yourself is so amazing, and it's freeing and it's reaffirming. And so, I mean, on an individual level, that would be my hope for Black women, for Black men, for all people, to have that space and time for like just reflection. And then, the other question was like, on a what was this? The second
as a
individual
collective.
As a collective. Well, isn't the Enneagram like, aren't the roots back to like Africa? Isn't it like from way back when in Africa or something it originated?
I'm not sure about geography. I do know that, well, I've learned that it's definitely people of color. But exactly where, did you learn that in your class at the?
I thought I did. I could have made it up. I do remember being like, it's ancient, like it's really, really old. And for some reason I'm thinking like Egypt, but I could have added that. I don't know. But, so let's pretend that's true just for the sake of, so I can answer this question.
The joke that's always like, we started it anyway. Like when we invented that, like.
Right. Well, Kim basically said that she does know it started, back with people of color, right? Didn't you say that? Okay. So as a collective, then I think, just more more of us folks like knowing about it. I think it's not widely known. And shoot, yeah, if we invented it, then we need to like reclaim it. And it's something that like we need to return to. It resonates with the soul of our community. So I think it's more just of awareness of what the Enneagram is, and again, I guess just kind of, that connects back to the individual, just that people could have the space and time. I mean, it's a luxury, I think, to be able to say, I'm going to give myself time to learn about myself, focus on myself, be with myself. And so that's a gift for anyone. So as a community, I just wish, more of our community was afforded that luxury.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
In the amazing work that you're doing, and like, yeah, what's a hope that you have for Black people in general? Especially since kind of day in and day out, you're really working towards that.
So the work that we do, it's similar to what Kim described when she worked back in high school, in a sense that the work that we do now is empowering Black communities to advocate for the change that they want to see in their communities. And so we work in a variety of different like public health kind of areas, but working with coalitions. And we have a model that a community development model that we walk them through. And it's amazing to see the kind of change that communities have done. We're doing this project in Atlanta and in New Orleans with in Atlanta, it's in the Sweet Auburn residence. So it's the historically Black part of Atlanta. And it's all around transportation justice. So when the highway was built, I mean, this is like the same story in so many cities where highways are built through the predominantly Black communities and disrupt the communities that are intact and that are flourishing and that are, have successful small businesses and homes. And it's giving some of the elders in those communities a voice to talk about that and to really look at how that's impacted their lives. And so there's a storytelling component to that work. And as a result, we actually just got the city of Atlanta to put these markers up in Sweet Auburn so that that's something that will literally live on for decades to come after we're gone, doing the work from there. So, it's really, really rewarding work for sure.
So for Black people of color to feel empowered, to advocate for, make moves towards the changes that are important to them and their communities. I hope that, you've embodied, like you said, for as long as you can remember.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool. What you'd mentioned this earlier. So I'm curious what your relationship with therapy has been like over your years, how much you want to share, how little you want to share, what feels comfortable for you about how therapy has been.
Yeah. I'm recently started therapy, like regular therapy. I probably for like 5 years, I kept saying like, I want to find a therapist. I want to start therapy. I want to find a therapist. And I just never, I would start looking and just would never find the one. Sometimes it was like, I'd go through a list of names and would just give up. Or sometimes I would do like an intro call with someone. I was like, oh, that person's not quite right, because it does take a lot for me to really open up and bare my soul. And so it really had to be a good fit. And then I made a promise to myself when I turned 50, which was last August. So I just turned 51 this past August, but the August before, that I was going to commit to therapy. And that was fueled by several major life changes that I felt like I needed just to talk to someone about. So both my children were grown and leaving the house. So I was going to be like an empty nester. And that was really big for me. So when I turned 50, my youngest son graduated from high school in May, and then in June I became an empty nester. In June we celebrated our 20-year anniversary. In June I started a whole new job, new career, which is where I'm currently at. And then I turned 50 that next month, right? Well, 2 months later in August. So it was like just a lot of change. And I started initially because I knew the transition to being an empty nester was going to be hard, and it is, and I'm still working through it. And I'm like, it's also like really exciting. So now I have the time, the resources to do literally whatever it is that I want to do. And I don't know what that is. And if I don't have a vision for what that is, and I can't make it happen because I can't see it, It's like for, 18, 20 years, I put so much into raising my kids that I didn't have the time to be me, to do me, to like, what are my passions? What do I like to do? What do I do in my free time? I didn't have free time. What are my hobbies? And so it's like, that was pushed down for so long that now it's like, I don't know. I don't know what they are. I don't know what I like to do in my free time. I got to figure, I got to find something to do. So that's kind of why I started the therapy, and, my therapist is amazing. And, she has just reflected in a way back to me some like really big kind of nuggets of learning. But it is definitely a journey for sure. And I mean, I've never had like thought negatively about therapy or anyone that was in therapy. Like I've always said, yeah, everyone needs therapy. Everyone could benefit from having someone to talk things through with, right? Like, but of course I think it does have I think it's starting to change, but, I think it did have a much more negative kind of context, maybe 5-10 years ago than it does now. So it's great to see, like, particularly like young Black women, and athletes and like famous people that are like saying, pause, I need to take care of my mental health. This is too much, becoming vulnerable and like, speaking about the importance of mental health. So I think COVID really, to me, that was like a big life change for me. I mean, I think it was for everyone, right? Not just me, but just I feel like everything in my life, everything in my world changed. And so I think there was some, it was hard. It was hard to, I don't know. It was hard. It was a hard time for me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Definitely. I agree. I think that COVID, I think the pandemic, it caused I think we were already like kind of shifting, but I think that really caused it was a very impactful shift as far as the way the world, and especially like, this country, and even more specific, like Black people, like the way we were, relating to mental health, healing spaces, because the world was on fire and everybody needed somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
So, can you share one of those nuggets that you mentioned? Like,
yes,
if you could share one with the people that really like.
I could share two. How's that? I could do better. I could share two. So let's see. Okay. So one of them is, I have never thought I was like a very creative, artsy type person. Arts and crafts and all that stuff. Not my thing. It's not my thing. At this retreat, they made us do vision boarding, cutting out. I could not wait to be done with it. Just not my thing, really. However, I started painting, because we were talking about, trying to fit, like, so with my therapist, I was talking about how I don't start new things unless I know I'm going to be really good at them. And so that prevents me from trying a lot of different things. Cause if it's like, if I'm not like the best at it, I'm not going to try it, you know? And so I started painting and I fell in love, and I would be lost in painting, and I'd like look up at the clock and it's like 4 a.m. and I had been painting for like 6 hours. And what I learned from painting is that, you know, you can make a mistake and you can fix it. You know, you can go outside the line and you can create it to be something else, or you can use the wrong color and you can mix it with another color and make it even better than it was before. And so, you know, with that Virgo tendency for perfection mixed with the painting was like really freeing and liberating. It's like creating something that there was no right or wrong, right? Mm-hmm. It was just like, it was becoming made, whatever I created was to be whatever it was to be, right? It wasn't like right or wrong. So that was really freeing of like, you know, so that was one thing, and I'm still continuing to paint, and but it has been teaching me a lot of patience, and it's also where I do a lot of thinking, you know, when I'm painting as well. And then the other thing I learned, and this wasn't from my therapist, but this was from the spiritual camp thing that I just came back from that I was telling you about, where I was around, you know, 150 women. Wow. One woman said that she had been coming to this camp for like 5 years. So a lot of people have these transformations at this camp, and it's like life changing, and they have breakthroughs, and it's like, you know, that's kind of how it's promoted. But this woman that I was sitting next to said she had been coming to the camp for 5 years, and she said she's a tortoise, not a hare, and that it's taken her 5 years to just now have the breakthrough. And so her and I started talking, and I was, you know, I've had this feeling like I've got to figure out, okay, my kids just left the house, you know, last month. I've got to figure out what this next phase of my life is about. I'm losing time. I'm like so worried that I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be 80 and I'm like not going to have done the thing that's the next chapter of my life. And what I learned from that is like, I don't have to have that figured out right away. You know, like I feel like I've been forcing it, you know, and this like really huge pressure to like, okay, like, you know, we're supposed to be traveling and we're supposed to be doing all these things that you hear when people don't have kids at home anymore. And it's like, that doesn't all have to happen right away. And so that's taken like a lot of pressure off of me to know that like, you know, it'll come in time, and it doesn't have to happen overnight. It doesn't have to all happen, all the change that I want, you know, all that this vision that I'm hoping to have of what's next. I don't have to have that all at once, all put together right away. So that just happened like last week. So yeah.
That's incredible. I think that what you just described is that beautifully captures the weakness for eights, which is lust. And so a lot of people hear that and they're like, lust, like lust. And we're like, no, not like lust, but like lust. So like that, you know, kind of strong desire for things to go a certain way or the way you want them to go. And how, like, I see that showing up with Black women who are eights, oftentimes with their relationship with time. Like this fear about wasting time or there not being enough time. And so it's like a lot of pressure that they put on themselves. And sometimes, you know, the people in their lives to, you know, get it done and to get it done quickly and to, of course, to do it well. But thank you for sharing that. And the lessons from painting too. I loved all of that. And I love that I think we forget or we miss that we can get those types of lessons from leaning into hobbies or just, you know, things that we enjoy doing. Like it's not just about painting to paint a picture.
Right.
And you take that time to connect with yourself and give yourself the space to slow down. Like there's just so many gems and lessons that you can walk away with and carry with you. So thanks for sharing those.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really wish I want to ask you all these questions. even though I talked about dominating as an eight, I want to hear from you all.
You said you've been listening to the podcast. Keep listening. We talk. I mean, we.
I have so much thoughts from what you just shared and all of that. Like I was writing notes because I felt one overarchingly what I'm sitting back and just like taking in is like we started off with like, gosh, eights are so heavy and they're so it's hard for me to be vulnerable. And I just have been in awe of how much vulnerability you've shared just in these last, this whole interview, but even just in these last two questions around really sharing about how empty nesting has been. And like I was really honored to hear your feelings and thoughts with that transition. That's a huge transition. Like you said, it was been 18 to 20 years. And now it's my identity and my time and my hobbies are different. And I'm trying to explore that. And like, I just really loved hearing that. It's okay. I got a puppy. I just really loved hearing that and like how so much of that. Yeah. I really feel passionate about women and gender and like different life cycles and motherhood. I'm not a mother, but like, I really feel interested in that and hearing the empty nesting part of motherhood and the identity shift with that and like how that's a really big deal. So I just thank you. And then even you sharing about the pandemic and like you shared that so vulnerably that like it was hard and like you could hear that there was more to that that I just appreciate the way that you have been sharing with us that there is a boldness and a strength to being an eight, but so much there's this underbelly that you've got, like we've got to get a peek into for you. And so thank you.
Thank you.
It shows the dynamicness and the dynamicness of who you are and who eights are. And then in particular about creativity, like I have this year, I've tried to lean into creativity. With work, I've realized I'm not artistic, but I am creative. And that separation was huge because being not artistic would stop me from doing the thing because I'm like, well, I can't make the painting. I'm not artistic. If you ask me to draw a dog, I can't draw a dog. Like, but am I creative in that, like, I might like the feeling of drawing a dog or painting a dog? Or am I creative in that, like, I've realized I really like flower arranging. And so like being curious about what does my creativity look like versus the like box that we sometimes put creativity in just being artistic. And that has been so like beautiful for me. It's been so fun to like play. When we were kids, we were all creative when we were kids. We were all doing all kinds of stuff. And then all of a sudden we stopped because we got a message around what's good and bad. If this piece of work is good or bad. And I've tried to step out of that of just like, I just liked making this painting. I just liked making this flower arrangement. I don't know if it's good or bad. I just liked doing it. And it felt creative to do it. So I really was resonating with your creative journey and your exploration of that. And then with that is that like, I wrote down slow is fast. That has been a like mantra for me lately is slow is fast. And that we live in such an urgent world. And we live in such a world that's like, go, go, go. And I have to sometimes before bed have to be like, you're not going to figure it all out tonight. Camille, go to bed. Because I will like try and figure it all out. And so what you were saying of like, I got to figure out empty nesting now. Like, and that's like the story of my life. I'm like, I got to figure this out now. And it's like, Camille, let it breathe. Take a breath. It'll probably figure itself out with time. Versus being like, like,
yeah.
So that's my share and reaction to your share because I just loved so much of that. And so thank you for those wisdoms.
Yeah. I'm surprised to hear you say the you're not creative part because it was interesting when the first question of how your Enneagram number showed up for you this week and when you were talking about your space. I've heard you on several different podcasts talk about your space. And so I don't know if that's like you need to have nice things around you or like that's important that what was the word that visual or that ambiance, because I've heard you on several different podcasts talk about your actual surroundings,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think in the reclaiming of the word creativity, I've had to lean into that like you're creative in your space. Like that's how you show your creativity is in how you decorate. Versus like if I am going to go to a card making party and make cute cards, I'm going to, seriously, I've done like, seriously, paint your potteries. No, I'm like, it's going to drive me nuts. But like, if you just if you tell me like, Camille, go paint your pot and it doesn't have to be good, I will enjoy painting my pot. But if I'm like, oh, I need to make this as a gift or I need to put this somewhere, then I'm going to be like, paralyzed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it all, we could just blame it on education. Cause we got these messages like from a young age about what it means to be creative and it means to be able to paint, to be able to draw. And this has become clear to me really in my faith. We're all women of faith. Like, you know, we're products of the creator, right? We are made in their image. So we're all creative. It's just like you said, Camille, and like you said, BG, like a matter of giving yourself the time, space, grace, permission to lean into what that looks like.
It's interesting you say blame it on the school system, because I once heard if you have a group of 20, adults in a room and you tell them to pull out a piece of paper and to draw a house, literally almost all of them will do the square with the triangle on top. Like that is like where we left off, in creativity, which is just really sad.
Yeah, I try. Yes. And like, I have a good friend she is artistic and owns her creativity. And she's been trying to like work with some of the narratives that we like, helping people work with the narratives, because even in therapy, I'll have people draw and I'll be like, okay, we're going to take out a piece of paper and we're going to have some colors. And immediately people are like, oh God, like, oh no. Because we have now these blocks of like, I can't do it and I don't want to do it and you're going to judge me and it's going to be bad and it's not going to be perfect. And like, and I agree. I have those too. And so being able to like soften those, because beautifully what you said, Kim, like we are all creative. And I realized that and I was like, wait, I need to step in and own my creativity and stop saying I'm not creative. I am. That's inside of me, but it might not be drawing a house. I can have the idea. And this is the other thing I've learned about my creativity. I can creatively think of the idea for you to draw the house. And I can tell the artistic person, this is how I want the house to be drawn. Can I draw the house? No, I cannot.
Yeah. That's more of me. I can have the vision. I'm not the executor, but I can come up with I can be creative about even a creative solution about how to, whatever, but I'm not the executor. So
that is creativity. Like you just being a visionary, being able to see things.
Yeah.
Even if you know that it's not necessarily your strength to like actually do it. Again, a lot of us don't realize that that's creativity. And that's a gift.
I hope that everybody listening goes and like, just explore your idea of creativity. And like, I don't know. It's been a fun journey for me. And it sounds like it's been a fun journey for you too, Bronwyn, of like, and Kim, and you owning your creativity. Like what does that mean? What are my messages with it? And how do I just lean into it and reclaim it? Because it's fun. Like being creative is fun to me. And it's I've learned it's relaxing. Like when I'm doing my flowers, I'm like, my mind can settle and I'm like, and it's like an anxiety like helper.
Yeah. Something about doing things with your hands. Like I was trying to do pottery for a little while, but, now that was something that really, the blobs that I made they weren't functional. They weren't nice. They weren't useful, but I loved getting my hands in that clay and that water and, moving on the wheel and pulling it like that. I created like some terrible stuff, but I had so much fun doing it. And, something about when your hands are working and moving, it just frees up your mind. It frees your mind just to think and to have space and expand, and take things in. So yeah, something about that mind hand connection.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my brain. It's mind body connection. It's grounding. And literally, like you're talking about clay, like if you can get your hands in some dirt, like it's literally like, it's a grounding practice. And also just to note, like something really important for all of us to do, but especially eights, to lean into, what it feels like to, effectively engage in practices that help you to feel grounded. Because eights can be so preoccupied with doing and sometimes thinking and such an attentiveness to like all of the things and people that can impact feeling grounded and connected to self. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Bronwyn, I've been thinking about trying pottery in my creativity journey, but I've felt like I will be I think that the spinning wheel might freak me out. Like, I feel like it going too fast, I'm going to be like, and then it's going to like spin off the thing. So I've
no,
like,
you control it. You control the spinning with your foot. Well, the one I did it on. So there's this place. You're gonna have to cut this out. There's this place in Zebulon that, you're in Raleigh. So it's really not that far. It sounds far, but it's not. And I bought they have like a beginner pass and you get, I can't remember how much it was, but you get like, an hour and a half, you get a lesson, and includes, you get to pick your clay, you get to pick what you want to make, and then they like fire it, and then you go back and you paint it. But it's just, if you do pottery Zebulon, it'll probably come up.
Okay.
But, it was fun. It's definitely fun. Just trying new things for sure. But it won't spin. It won't go wild. It won't go flying off.
All right. I'm going to try it. I think we should keep it in so that everyone can go look up their pottery class in their town, figure out where there's a free, not free, but a classes for them to try it. That's a good inspiration.
The technical community colleges or community colleges have so many good adult
art classes,
learning classes, for art things, but also I just got something from Wake Tech. It was like financial investment class, that's an exciting class, but but no, seriously, there's like so many great things at community college to take. They probably have some kind of pottery or art or something.
That's cool. Thank you for those wisdoms and just this conversation and encouragement of leaning into creativity, and slowing down. What, as we're wrapping up, like, how can people stay connected to you, Bronwyn? How can people find you? What projects you have coming up that you want to share with folks? Because this has been such a rich conversation. And I'm sure so many people have enjoyed getting to know you.
Well, how can people find me? Well, I am on some social media channels, but not really that active. Like, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, but not active at all. I'm more of the old school Facebook type, but because my name is Bronwyn Lucas, there's usually only one of me. I'm pretty easy to find. And then the Center for Black Health and Equity, you can find me through there on their About Us page. I'm listed there. So if anyone is interested in, we sometimes work with interns, students who are in social work or public health. We work with interns, and we're national as well. So, we've got projects all over the country, and we're also a nonprofit. So if there's any wealthy corporate person listening that wants to make a financial contribution,
that's right.
Tax deductible.
That's right. Tell the people again where they can make it the check out to.
Tax deductible contribution. We will gladly receive it. But no, the Center for Black Health and Equity is the organization. And I don't know, I can be found walking around, volunteering. I'm on a couple of boards. I'm surprised I haven't bumped into you, Camille, in Raleigh.
We're going to see each other like tomorrow.
Right. What part of Raleigh are you in?
I'm by Mama Nori's, by Costco and.
Oh. Yeah. My parents live near there.
Yeah, in that area of town.
I remember when Miss Kim Reese lived over there, off of Atlantic. You lived off Atlantic.
Oh,
by that there's a gas station in Bojangles. Yeah,
that's right there. Yeah, we were right around the corner, Kim. I didn't know.
Wait, you're not in Midland, are you?
Midtown.
Cortland.
No.
Okay, that's where my parents live, like right behind that Bojangles. That big condo.
Yes.
Cortland? I think that's what it's called.
I think it's a Cortland.
Yeah.
I can't remember that.
That
was like my first. I think that was like, no, it was my first place out of grad school.
Cute.
Then you lived over by the farmer's market.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was in college. I remember
everything about you, Miss Reese.
Yeah, but we doing the work that we were doing in high school, that was mostly in a lot of that work was in Southeast Raleigh. And so y'all are in that area of Raleigh a lot too.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Taking this time to share with us and chat with us and share all your wisdom. And like Camille has already said, being so open and real and vulnerable. I know how amazing you are. I know how amazing all of the work that you have always done, what you will do. Like, I just don't have any doubts about how incredible it is and will be. And so I just don't take for granted that you would share time with us. So thank you.
Absolutely. I was so honored to be asked. And it's just such a pleasure to meet you, Camille, and then to watch Kim in her element since, like she said, I've known her since she was 14 and now she's all grown up and professional and a change maker out here doing her thing. And I really appreciate the invitation. And I'm excited to continue on my journey of learning about the Enneagram. So thank you.
Thank you.
Where on Earth Did the Enneagram Come From is a book that actually, I think Chi suggested that, like recommended that as a resource. So if you or anyone else listening, the notion of where exactly did it start came up in the conversation today. It's a great resource to check out. I haven't gotten through it yet, but it touches on that very thing.
Cool.
Okay. I'm writing it down. I'll check it out. Come from. Okay.
And then I think that's it. That's a wrap, right, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a wrap. Cut.
That's perfect.
No, edit that out.
All right, y'all. That is a wrap, like the lady said. So we'll see you in the next episode.
See you on the next episode.